Mark, how you doing?
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
It is absolutely fantastic to see you.
You too.
Thanks for joining me today on this podcast.
Happy to be here. Happy to help and share a bit of knowledge, whatever I have. It's not a
Is
lot,
it
but
is it a good
whatever I
time?
have.
Is it a good time to ask? Is that a monkey in the picture?
Behind me? Oh no, this is so this was a bit of art. So I used to be the number two in Hilton Times Square, and I was checking a room one day, and I noticed that you've got your hotel art that's kind of in the center of the bathroom, and I noticed that there was a like a sliver here of just a bit of red sticking out. I don't know if you can see that there, just at the bottom. So I asked the engineer, and these are like screwed onto the wall. I asked the engineer to take it off, and he took the bit of art that was off, and someone had taken off the art, and they'd drawn this picture on the wall behind it, and that could have been there years. Hotel was 20 years old. It could have been there 20 years, and no one had known about it. Just total fluke. I happened to see it one day, so I asked him to cut it out, and I asked him to put it in a frame for me, and that's my art that goes in my office with me wherever I go.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, so it's grow love. That's what it's all about.
What's that connection? Why that and bring it with you?
I just liked it. I just thought it was something totally unique, and it's at least has a bit of a story to it.
Yeah.
And it's always a talking piece that whenever someone comes in my office or sees it, they ask about it.
Yeah.
I remember when I was interviewing for one hotel once, and there was the general manager. He had an autographed jersey of Andrea Pirlo, and who was the Italian kind of football player.
Yes.
He like real silky, he was this an Italian general manager. So the maestro was what this guy used to call him. And I asked him about the autographed jersey, and I was like, oh, because I knew that Pirlo was from Brescia, and I was like, oh, he's from Brescia, isn't he? And he's like, how do you know this? And I was like, oh, because I'm interested in football. I like him. He's a great player. And he's like, I'm from Brescia. He's a friend of mine, and that's how I have it. So
okay,
it's a talking piece, and that's part of being a GM, or not necessarily GM, any part of the hotel industry is learning some ways to stand out, and it's the little things.
Excellent. Very, 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 very poignant to start the podcast with. Mark, one of the reasons that we have you on is because you talked about numbers there. Number two, you're number one now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are certain strategies and stuff that you've employed along the way to help you get there. So, and I'm sure there's stuff that you used that failed, and there's stuff that you used that made progress for you. Can you tell us a wee bit about that, or where the passion grew?
Like I think I think there's certain principles that got me into the position I am now. So I'm general manager of Arlo Nomad, which is on 31st Street in New York, right in the shadow of Empire State Building, 249 rooms, cool rooftop, really nice staff. It's all about kind of making sure I want almost to be a reflection of myself, and somewhere that I'd want to go, and that's really, really important to me. And so I'm part of it is having that I guess building trust and reliability in whether it's with teammates, with ownership, vendors. It's all about reputation, and I think building that reputation is so important, and your credibility. I think integrity is very important as well. Doing the right thing, setting the standards yourself that everyone is measured by. Like for myself, I'll never go fishing in the gift shop to get a Coke or something, and I don't expect anyone else to do that. So I can hold everyone to the exact same standard that I am. Versus if I go fishing in the gift shop for a Snickers or something, then anyone can come behind and say, well, Mark does it. So again, holding myself to that level.
Yeah.
You gotta know your numbers, not just your occupancy, not just your ADR, not just your RevPAR, but your GOP. You got to know your cost per occupied room. You got to know how much a key card holder costs. So if someone's writing on a key card holder, 8 cents, 15 cents, depending on the style of key card holder, rather than using post-it note, rather than using, recycled paper. Every day you could be wasting these things, and it's a lot of the time it comes down to the pennies. It's not necessarily the revenue you're making, it's the money that you're saving at the end of the time to get to that magic kind of, whether it's net profit.
It's not the revenue that you're making, it's the money that you're saving.
That's right. And that really makes a difference, because, if you don't hit your revenue targets, or you do hit your revenue targets, but you're spending too much money, it eats away everything. And again, that percentage margin of your GOP is so important. Your gross operating profit, so important. And I think that other things, as I said, is that relationship building. Like, this is a small industry, and you see a lot of the same faces again and again. And having a reputation for being known as, a straight shooter, no nonsense, getting your stuff done, paying on time, not messing people around. I think that stands to you, and I think that's something that I'm very proud of, my reputation. I think
so. That's your reputation within the hospitality and kind of employment area. What about that relationship building with the guest?
Yeah, like, I think, it's all about, me setting the bar of expectation, with making sure that, it's an evolution. It's always trying to get better all the time, and a lot of the time I'm not looking for perfection, I'm looking for progress, so you try to I always, you never want to sell something that I wouldn't buy myself. I don't want to stay somewhere where I'd never go myself. And that's the mentality I try to get.
Give me an example. Give me a practical example where some guest has decided to book to your hotel and they've got that 10-star guest experience.
Yeah, like, geez, I have a few stories of it. We I worked in a hotel that was near Times Square. We had a little kid's 5th birthday party, and he had a Spider-Man cake. And I was talking to his mum just before the party. He had a couple of little friends there, and I was like, listen, I have a bit of an idea. Are you okay if I do something? She's like, yeah, go ahead, no problem. I trust you. I built a bit of relationship with them over the couple of days. Went down to Times Square. I got the Spider-Man impersonator. I got him to come with me. I gave him 50 quid to come with me just for 2 minutes. He came back with me, and he kicked in the door from the kitchen into the restaurant, and he gave the little kid a Spider-Man cake. So Spider-Man giving you your Spider-Man cake. Now, when you're 5 years old, you don't know that it's someone, but it was such, that's all the parents, and all their friends could talk about for the next 3 or 4 days that they were there, and they're spending a lot of money, and that's the kind of things that people remember. I had another lady who, she came, she was an absolute terror. She was staying with us, and again, 5-star hotel, high expectations. So you're used to like a bit of high level of people expecting a lot.
Yeah.
Came down, everyone was dealing with her. She was a total nightmare. And then and these are kind of people I love to deal with, because this is a challenge. This is like a game. This is like all right, see if we can cross the bridge. So go out to her, I'm speaking to her, and she's like, this isn't right, and this isn't right, and this isn't right. And I'm like, well, okay. I was like, obviously this is a very important trip to you, and I'm here to help you. So come on, talk straight to me. Tell me what's going on. Why are you so upset here? And I could see her husband and her little son, who was maybe 10, 11, was sitting across the lobby, and she's like, she had a little boy over there, and I was like, yeah. She said, that's my son. His name is Nicholas, and we didn't think he has cancer, and we didn't think he was going to see his 11th birthday, and that's why this trip is so important to me, because this is his 11th birthday. So, okay, that changes everything now. Now I know why you've been so upset, because this is such an important trip to you. You didn't think you were going to get this 11th birthday, and now you have this 11th birthday. So if there's a hair anywhere, that's not perfect. So let's make it perfect. So I tell her, I was like, right, now you've explained it. Now I understand. Okay. Yeah. I was like, you go to the restaurant, have a, get a burger, go get a hot dog with them, and 30 minutes I'll have something special planned. I go down to the baseball shop. I get them Yankee hats that say Nicholas's 11th birthday on the date. I go to the little touristy shop. I get a little. I asked her what his favorite color was. His favorite color was blue. I go get I Love New York t-shirts that are blue. One for the mom, one for dad, one for Nicholas. So they've got their baseball caps. They got their I Love New York t-shirts. I come back. I then had asked, is there anything that he likes? And she had mentioned that he likes Lego. Perfect. So I called the Lego store that's in the Rockefeller Center, and I was like, listen, can you do me a favor? I'll get this kid. I explained the situation. Is there any way that if I send him down, like just as you're closing, you can let him walk around the store by himself so he can walk around? Yeah, no problem. Of course, I'll help you out there. This of course we have to do that. No problem. So going from a lady who was a tyrant who was mad at everything, 45 minutes later, they're wearing their t-shirts, they're wearing their hats, having a big smile on their face, having a great time after their lunch. Go down. I found out afterwards then that when she came back that the manager of the Lego store had made a little Nicholas, like they let him make his own little Lego figure, and they put it on. They have a Rockefeller Center kind of, I guess, Legos, like big huge kind of set that's there, and there was a Spider-Man they have on top, I guess, looking over the Rockefeller Center, and they put him and you know the little Nicholas Lego and Spider-Man together. So this is the kind of thing that, like, again, only from me having a conversation with her. If I hadn't had that chat with her, I wouldn't have known what the motivation was, and I couldn't have gone further and gone like, right.
There's a couple of things there, Mark. Number one, that inquiry, that question, maybe 3 questions deep to find out what's wrong, what's going on, and that's such a it needs courage, and it needs experience, and it needs for you to be in control of the situation to approach somebody like that. And I'm sure you use that tactic maybe sometimes when employees are having the bad day, and they're acting out of character. You need to have that awareness to understand that there could be something else going on, and it's not always 1 question, 2 questions, but 3 questions deep. And for you to do that and do what you've done and move down then to the idea, the creativity of going into the Rockefeller Center, and then to build that trust with whoever owns there, for them to engage their creativity and to change their thinking for that day. That's a magic attribute, I would say.
Yeah, like I think trust is a huge thing. Like we have one chance to get it right, and after we get it wrong, no one's going to trust us again. Like, why would they? They have no reason to, And that's why if I'm recommending a bar or restaurant, it needs to be somewhere that I would go because, or I build a relationship with that restaurant because I want to make sure the guest has a good time. Because if I'm recommending, there's a place that I love. It's called Cask, 33rd and 3rd Avenue. It's this real rustic kind of place, cocktails and nice food and good energy. And I've been sending people there for 10 years. And every single time I'd send a guest there, it would be a hard sell because it wasn't close to the hotel, but I'd get them over there. And I called, hey, Lane, listen, I got 2 guys coming over, Mark from Sultan. No problem. Yeah, we'll take care of them. They would either get them a cocktail, get them dessert, and say, oh, that's from Mark from the hotel. So then what are they going to do? The first thing they're going to do when they come back is come back to me and say, well, thanks so much for that drink. That was so nice. It didn't cost me anything. I wasn't getting anything for it, but it was more the experience the guest was getting. I had guests who were here for 7 days, real foodie kind of people that were going to go to a different place every day. They went to Cast the first day, they went back to Cast the last day. Like if you're there for 7 days, you've only got 7 restaurants to choose from, and you go to the same place twice. That's obviously, there's a reason,
Yeah.
One other story that I like to talk about surprising people is when, again, big hotel, very expensive wedding. A couple were taking their photographs on our spiral staircase. They had, 100 rooms in the hotel, so that was huge money they were spending in this, again, 5-star hotel in Times Square. So taking their photographs on the spiral staircase, the real dramatic photographs, and I, there was lots of guests there taking photographs of them as well. I asked, hey, is it okay if I take a photograph of you? No, yeah, no problem. Yeah, take a picture of them. I go into the pharmacy around the corner. I get the photo printed. I get a frame. I put it in their room when they're having their dinner with all their friends. And I put a little note saying, dear Mr. and Mrs. Smith, your first photograph as a married couple. They didn't get back to their room until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I was gone home, obviously, at that time. I was in like the next day at 7, and the bride came down to the night auditor, and she was like, I want you to call him right now and thank him for doing this. She's like, and he's like, he's going to be here in 3 or 4 hours. And, but she was like, no, I want you to call him right now. And obviously he didn't call me, but it was still like, she was so overwhelmed by such a small thing. It was a photo, it cost me 10 quid to go do it, but it was still the next day then at their brunch, that's all anyone could talk about,
Yeah.
you know? So 10 quid, and that's I made it a huge, even such a small thing made such a big impact on people. And that's the thing that we don't realize. A lot of the time, the smallest little thing you do can have such a huge impact.
Yeah. I'm sure you didn't learn that in college.
I didn't, no.
Where did
Just
you
again,
learn
put myself in the same position. Like you're you know, you like, if it's an easy thing that you can do. I see everyone's taking their photographs. Well, wouldn't that be cool if we did that? You know, same with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool? That'd be cool if someone did that for me. Like, I can do that for someone.
Yeah.
You know, and that's but again, like it's the mentality is always, you know, I always try to be a bit of a maverick and be you know, think outside the box a little bit, and you know, an independent thinker.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way that I've always
It
been.
sounds like you're insulated in your GM role or your number 2 role, that no matter what, you're going to provide a room, but you're going to provide an experience along with it.
Yeah. Again, and this is, you know, some of these things that I did. I was front office manager. I was, you know, number 2. Like, again, it wasn't necessarily something that I went and asked, hey, can I go do this? You know, I remember it was another hotel that I worked in, and as soon as you walked in the door, like there was an overpass panel at the top, and it used to be for a spa to get from the spa to the bedrooms, but it wasn't being used. The spa, that part of the spa wasn't being used. So the engineer had put all his boxes and his cardboard and stuff up there. So like, it looked, the first entrance you see is, not everyone would notice it, but I noticed it and it bothered me. So I went to the general manager one day and I was like, hey, listen, like, he's got all his boxes up there. Is it fine I move them, you know, 3 or 4 feet away from the glass so that guests don't see them? And he was kind of like, he was like, nope. He was like, your job is to focus on the front desk. So go focus on the front desk. And I was like, okay, fine, fair enough. So that's fine. So I just took it upon myself. I went up and I moved the boxes. No one knew I moved them. I knew that they were moved, but no one even noticed it. But it bothered me.
Yeah. So
I didn't let, you know, it's if it's something that's guest facing, that is a reflection on us. And if I can see the boxes, a guest can see the boxes.
Yeah.
And that's my mentality. That's always been my mentality, that if I see a nick on, like, you know, a nick in the carpet, or if I see a nick on the wall, like I see, you know, rubbish on the ground, like I'll pick it up, and the team, then it's infectious. That like, if everyone can see me picking up stuff, you know, then they're going to pick it up.
Yeah.
You know, that's
I totally agree with you. And I've walked into quite a number of hotels, in excess of 100 at this stage, definitely. And that first impression can tell you so much. And that initial greeting can tell you so much. And it does dilute down from the general manager.
Yeah. Like, I think the mutual respect is so important as well. Like, not just from the team members, but from the guests too. Yeah. You know, like we, you know, obviously with COVID, it was a very tough time for a lot of people, and obviously our hotel stayed open the whole time, luckily. But you know, you get a lot of different people when the rates drop. You know, and it was very important that we instituted some form of communication that, you know. So we came up with a list, which was a mutual respect form. You know, says and guests sign it when they come in. You know, no parties in the room. You know,
right.
You know, no kind of loud music, no smoking in the rooms. You know, the no firearms or no weapons or anything like that. Okay. Been over here, like, that's an important thing to state. And the last thing was mutual respect. That, you know, our team are doing our job. You know, you have the right to be a guest and enjoy your time with us. But and that was our way we held guests accountable. You know, you're smoking in the room. Listen, do you sign the form? You know, you know what the expectation is. You know, you're playing your music.
You would hope you would stop any of that before, even by having that.
And I had nothing to put in someone's face and say, listen, you signed this. You don't understand what your expectation as a guest is. You know, especially with masks, wearing the mask. You know, some people having a funny time wearing the masks. You know, hey, listen, would you mind putting your mask on? No, I don't need to put my mask on. Listen, you sign a mutual respect form. Please have respect for us. You know, and that then is accountability, and that's such an important part of it, where Like, I'll give everyone respect until they don't deserve it anymore. And then when you don't deserve it anymore, swearing, using slurs against people, then you're done,
Yeah.
And
how,
this is really
I'm
simple.
sure over your time, how do you deal with them difficult?
It's the
Maybe,
same way. Like, I talk to people, I give them patience, I let them tell me what their issue is. But if they're unreasonable, if you're smoking in the room, you're smoking in the room. This is a slam dunk. This isn't a conversation we're having,
yeah,
So you can pay me with the fine, or you can leave, you
yeah,
know. And I have a line that I always try to use when I need to use it. If I've got to the point where we're at the end of the line, okay, we're done here. Simple as that. There's no more begging. There's no more pleading. There's no more this or that. And again, it's only when I know that we're 100% in the right that I'll do
yeah,
that. I take absolutely no pleasure in asking someone to leave. No pleasure. That's not
yeah,
something I like doing. But at the same time, it's not fair on every other guest, the 248 other guests that I have in the hotel. If someone is playing loud music at 4 o'clock in the morning, I think perspective is an important thing. Where I always use a simple example of, okay, let's say you've got two guys that are going out for the night, playing a little bit of music, and then you've got a lady that's pregnant in the room next to them. Okay, who's right and who's wrong? Perspective is so important. Okay, it's Friday night, 9 o'clock, you're playing your music before you're going out. I don't see a big deal with that. Okay, if it's 4 a.m. and you're playing your music when you get back, I have a problem with that. So it's perspective, and it's just you're trying to cater to so many people so many times that mutual respect is so important.
yeah. Interesting. Mark, you started your education in Ireland. You came to New York. You come back to Ireland, and you're back in New York. Could you tell us a wee bit about maybe even the differences in hospitality in Dublin City to New York?
Yeah, I think it's I think I guess similarity wise, like, people are always excited to go to a new place, so you've got that excitement factor. I think differences then are you know um I guess the team members are different, cultural wise. Over here you've got a mix of cultures. um I feel like in Ireland, a lot of the time it's transitional. It's people doing a bit of work for a bit of time and then going to a different, or there's a career that they're passionate about, as opposed to hospitality. I feel like when you've got people in hospitality that are really passionate about it, they really stand out, because I feel like it's when you're in your late teens, early 20s, you work in a pub, you work in a restaurant, you work in the hotel for a little bit extra money, and I think that the I try to look for team members that have that bit of fire, that bit of passion about them, that
Yeah,
really want to, go for and are interested. And I like to hire people that have never worked in a hotel before, so we can create that standard. And I've had people who, I've hired them as like a front desk, receptionist, and now they're number twos of hotels,
yeah,
and or people will be like, oh no, don't go for him because he's
yeah,
he's got a
yeah,
thick Dublin accent, or
yeah.
he's I just
Mark,
look the part. Like, that's not the thing. And I
yeah,
think I think otherwise, the difference between hotels in Ireland and New York, to be honest with you, there's not a lot of differences. I think
yeah,
hotels, no matter where you are, it's all the same pieces to it. You got your
yeah,
housekeeping, you got your engineering, you got your security.
yeah,
Sometimes, you need to be aware. You need to have a front desk that has a good welcome. You need to have that curbside appeal. As
mm.
soon as you pull up,
Would you
there was a
say
really good.
Ireland is known for hospitality?
Hmm.
Uh, but you did say that there is a transient kind of um, filling a void for a while, people moving through hospitality in Ireland. And it sounded like you said there was is there a wee bit more of a career in like New York? It's a
Yeah, like, I
life.
feel I feel like, when I think of some of the general managers that I worked with, or some of the team members that I worked in. I'll give you an example. Like, studying, in I went to Colborough Street, okay, and I think out of the, let's say 50, 60 people that started the course, it's maybe three that are still in the industry, maybe
Unbelievable.
four. And it just shows that it's not for everybody. And to me, this doesn't feel like work. Like, if I won the lotto tomorrow, I keep doing it, because it's I enjoy doing it. I like the challenge, I like the numbers, I like helping, meeting different guests every day. I love kind of helping team members develop, making it easier for the generation behind me that every position that I've got, I've earned. And I haven't got it because, my daddy plays golf with someone. I got it because I've earned it, and I've been the best person for the job.
Yeah,
and I
good.
think a lot of people, that's not always the case in especially senior positions, and that's, I want to give that mentality, what knowledge that I've learned to the people behind me, so that if, we're not always in the same place forever, and that I want it to be as easy as it possible, so that if I get a chance to move to a different, whether it's a different property in the same group, you've got 3 or 4 people behind me that can step in and take my place.
Yeah.
I share everything. I don't need to some people are very hide certain information. Oh, because I'll be less valuable if I share that information. But no, you're more valuable because you've shared it. Everyone knows how to do it now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mindset to have to build people behind you and develop people. And that's important to me, But I think for the most part, again, no matter where hotels, no matter where you are, Dublin, Limerick, Portlaoise, New York, it's the same nuts and bolts that's there,
Yeah. During the real dip of the of COVID and hospitality, how did you keep your spirits lifted? Because I'm sure there's lots of people that completely lost interest. And how did you manage that?
Yeah, I think it's just a case of, positivity is such an important part, Like I could come in and be like, oh God, the numbers are, I was Hilton Times Square. I remember when COVID started, I always write everything down. I have a book every day. I first come in, thing I do is I write down the occupancy, I write down the ADR, I write down the revenue that we made, and I write down these every day. This is what I do. So I had this going back years and years and years. And I distinctly remember in COVID, I think it was April 1st, look at my book, a 500 room hotel, 3%. Okay, that was our occupancy. We were like 99.7% every day. And we were down to...
In Times Square?
Yes. And we were down to 3%. And that was because nurses, Hilton were giving free rooms to nurses so that they could help in New York when, it was at its worst. So, and if we didn't have those nurses, it would be me and the team looking at each other. So how do you keep that mentality right? You make sure that every single person that walks in that door has, no matter if we're 99% or we're at 1%, it doesn't matter. Everyone's treated the exact same, and I work with a lot of good leaders over the years, locally in whether it was in the Ladder or whether it was in the Absolute Hotel in Limerick. Like, you've got these guys that the mentality is always there, and
give me an example of that, Mark.
Of
give me an example when you said, you know what, he's right.
Yeah. Like there's again just little things over the years. Like I remember Bruno Gorish, he's general manager now. He was at the Balls Bridge, and now he's going back to Marion Road. I remember him telling me before, he was like, you don't let people drag you down. You lift everyone around you up. And that was something that that still stands to me today. And I kind of changed it slightly in that, you can put the right person in the wrong place, but that person can make a huge difference. I worked with Bruno again in Tower Towers, which is this kind of, which is now becoming the Marion Road. And it was a very, older hotel. A lot of, our parents' generation would have got married there. At the time it was a big deal. It was right beside the water overlooking Dublin Bay. You can see like the chimneys from it. It was a very, it was at the time it was an excellent hotel. But in 2017 it wasn't, and I remember going in and the team that I had there, they again same, they got their every day was a struggle, every day was tough there because the guests, they didn't know what rooms they were sending guests into. There was a new wing that was made in the 90s and it hadn't been touched since the 90s. I'm talking, big back televisions, I'm talking carpets and curtains from your granny's house, and that was what was there. So I started to look at it. These girls are getting dogs abuse every single day from people being like, oh, hope you got a nice room for me. And then they don't know what they're sending them into. So I started making lists so that they knew what rooms were good. So I took all the curtains, the best curtains, and I put them on the 3rd floor and the 2nd floor. So then the 1st floor, you know that those rooms are tough. Okay. So if someone comes in and says, "Hope you got a nice room for me," yeah, of course I do. I'll take great care of you. If it's a bunch of lads coming in going to a football match, they don't care. They just want to drop their bags and get rolling. They're not going to come back till 2 a.m. Hey lads, just want to let you know I got a room ready for you. It's on the 2nd floor. The curtains aren't great. Oh no, it's fine, no problem. Thanks. Drop their bags, in you go. So I got that hotel, which no one was expecting anything from me on Tripadvisor. I got it up 30 places in Dublin. So there was 100, I think, and 50 hotels in Dublin. That was like 135. I think it was 129. I got it up to 99. So no one expecting anything.
Yeah.
And I'm getting up to 99. And I have the regional kind of who's in charge of all the Malvern hotels, Connell O'Neill, coming up to me and asking me, "How did you do that?" And I was like, just building connections. I'm making it easier for the team every day. I'm anticipating the guest need. I'm reading every guest as they come in. I'm building a profile on people. I'm starting to see, okay, I got a bunch of builders coming in. They don't care. I'll put them in those rooms. They're here for a week. At least I know that's every day. I don't have to find a room for a couple that's coming in, or going to the hospital that's down the street.
Yeah.
These are things, and you got to anticipate. You got to read situations. You got to read people. And
Yeah.
it's
like you have a seventh skill. It's mixed with creativity. It's mixed with outside the box thinking. It's mixed with relatability and relationship building and influencing and negotiating, and it's just magic.
It's all psychology, and that's what this comes down to. Like if a guest is giving out to me, okay, about something, and listen, they might be 100% right, and that's the thing. Like when you're wrong, we need to put our hands up and say, you're 100% right. But as I said, a lot of things come down to cost as well. So like, let's say for example, their rate is $250. Okay, instead of me giving them all their money back, I'll try if I can to twist the narrative slightly. So listen, you didn't have the best experience this time. Come back. Let's get you back next time. Okay. And I know that the cost per my room is going to be $50. Okay. So if I give them back $250, I'm losing $250. If I give them a comp room, it's costing me $50. So I'd rather keep the 200 that's in between than lose the 250.
Yeah.
So and then this is the kind of mindset to have. Again, as I said, it comes down to the pennies that you save.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
I was in a hotel recently, and I was talking to a group operations director, and they were interviewing for GM, and he was slightly late for my meeting because he was doing the interviews, and I just asked him, "What's your initial first impressions, or what are you looking for as they walk into the room?" And he said, "Cuffs. They gotta have cuffs." And I thought, yes, likely they do. And there's a whole range of stuff. Like if you have cuffs or you don't have cuffs, it's not going to make any difference. You're going to be an excellent general manager, but there's definitely 100% an appearance.
I'll give you a good story about that. So like my grandfather, he used to make handguns. So in the 60s, he went to kind of Hollywood, California, to be doing, when the westerns were being done, to make handguns. Like in World War II, he made handguns and he rifles and these kind of things. So he was doing working on the cowboy movies with the guns and stuff. But there was a famous kind of sharpshooter. His name was Rod Redwing, and trick shots. Putting a balloon up and then throwing a knife and shooting the balloon before the knife hits the wall, or drawing a hole on the wall and throwing a knife and getting a bullet in before this crazy kind of stuff, trick shots. But there was a competition where there was, and Rod Redwing was the judge in the competition. So there's two sharpshooters, both of them very, very good guys. One of them's got regular kind of black guns, the other has got nickel plated handguns, got that silver light, so it glistens off the light, and oh geez, that guy must be good because he's got the cool guns. Got down to the end of the final, the guy with there's 3 or 4 judges, the guy with the cool guns wins. Everyone crowd cheers, and yeah, that's the guy. Rod Redwing goes up to the guy who came second place, and he's like, the only reason you lost is because of your guns. He's like, if you had nickel plated handguns, you would have won. So that mentality is always in me. It's the way, it's how you present yourself. It's how you carry yourself. Say you walk into a room. I remember Pat McCann, who's the recently kind of, stepped away from Delata, talking to him. And the first time I met him, was in a budget presentation meeting with Bruno. And, I was sitting there for experience just to be part of, this and see how it's presented and how it is.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm you. He's like, what's your name? What's your story? And I was like, oh, my name's Mark. I just, I just moved back here from New York, and I'm, worked in hotels, and I'm happy to be here and happy to help Tower Towers and do whatever I can. And he was like, oh, where did you work in New York? And I was like, oh, Sofitel, New York. I was, front office manager there for 3 years. And he's like, Sofitel, New York? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that's the only hotel. He's like, I've been to 100 hotels in New York. And he's like, that's the only hotel that I've been to where there's nice people in there. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I tell people that all the time. And I think Colin O'Neill was in the meeting as well. And he's like, yeah, he does. He does that all the time. Separate time that I got chosen to be part of Delata's kind of, their development for their next bunch of general managers, which was.
Did you feel that all the effort that you put on then to the team is now paying back in this meeting?
Yeah. And it put me then, on his radar, and, Pat McCann, powerful man when it comes to Delata. He created Delata with Steve McAnally and sorry, I forgot the other person who was part of it, but I think there was 3 of them that created it together, and with the mindset of being something different for Irish hospitality. Remember speaking of Pat McCann, and I got chosen for this prestigious thing, building their next general manager. And again, the mentality is that if you go out into the market and you get a general manager that's an unknown quantity, you don't know what you're getting. But if you develop your own general managers, then you know exactly what you're getting. You've got a room with 12 potential general managers from the UK or from Ireland. You identify within that, you get the experts to tell you from different classes, okay, who do you think is really sticks out here, and you narrow it down to 3 or 4 guys, and then or ladies, and then who, okay, next time we have a position coming up, that's the guy that I want. And I think that's it's so smart, because again, that's the same mentality that I have, that you want to encourage everyone, so that the next appointment who gets a general manager from that group, oh, I want to be part of that program. I want to be part of that program. So you're going to get people that are driven and really want to be part of it.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that Delata have right. Like their selection process is excellent. Really, really good.
Interesting. Mark, what advice would you give to somebody that is potentially either in a family hotel, a small group, a large group, and are maybe around that duty manager level, maybe ops or maybe even the deputy general manager, some things that they could practically implement within their day-to-day operations within the hotel, that would start to get them to stand out a bit. Like you've told me so many stories there that must have spiked the awareness for the people that you were working with.
Yeah, like I think professionalism is a huge thing. Your timekeeping, your the way you carry yourself, the way you speak around others. How whether it's and that's linked to your personality. Like it's good to laugh and joke and have a bit of a have a chat with your colleagues and get to know them a little bit and build that relationship with them. But you need to know where the line is in whether it's comments you say or whether it's actions that you take, and your professionalism, it can never be questioned. It needs to be solid.
I got a bit of advice one time from a chief, fire chief, and how he managed the men was, and it's a very male dominated normally organization. It's firm, fair, and friendly.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the middle of the line. You're able to manage most situations, as you say, with building that relationship, having that bit of crack, getting to know them.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the crunch,
it's communicating as well. It's having a clear vision for myself, or whether you're front office manager, whether you're revenue manager, whether you're sales and marketing, whether you're, finance, like having a clear vision but the ability to communicate,
Yeah.
like the front desk here, as I said, like we have a lot of people that never worked in hotels before. It's just people we've identified who were pleasant, Girl works in a coffee shop around the corner. We all identified her. She could be good. We got her in. She met, and now she's flying along. Like we had a security officer who had a bit of personality, a bit of presence about him. Same thing. We got him across from security, and like there was an outsourced company. We got him to come over, and now he's one of our front desk people. And good people who are studying. One guy is studying to be an orthodontist. Okay, but like he's got a bit of personality. He's got a bit of stories about him. And he can laugh and have a joke with people. And I think as I said before, just picking people based on personality, that there's different ways of saying it, but like sometimes it's better to have a hole in your team than have someone who's a bit of a can drag the morale of everyone else down around them.
Okay.
And whether that's I have to step up and do shifts on the desk myself, I'll do them, because that's, again, the team can see that, and that mentality is so important, choosing the right people. I guess persistence as well. You're going to get rejections, you're going to apply for jobs, you're going to get told, oh no, you don't have this or you don't have that. I have a colleague who's the number 2 here, and he's a real distinctive kind of like ponytail kind of things that on the way his hair is done. And when he first, he was front office manager when I first met him, and he had said someone had told him that you're never going to be general manager if you have those ponytail things. So he's going to cut his hair. And I like when and I was like, no, I was like, don't do that. I was like, that's what makes you stand out. Because when guests are talking about you, they'll be like, oh, the tall guy with the ponytail things. That's something that's unique.
Yeah.
Like with Arlo, like for the managers, the general managers, the style is business casual. You don't have to wear ties. You don't have to. You can dress smart, but me, I always wear ties because I've always worn ties, because that's my mentality, is the professionalism that comes with a tie. When I'm walking down the stairs and I have to speak to a guest about something, or I speak to a vendor about something, they see me come around the corner wearing my suit and tie, they're like, oh, that's the guy. Yeah. And I remember Pat McCann said the same thing about Sofitel. He was sitting in the lobby one day, and when he was telling me another story about it, he said the general manager came around the corner and knew he was the general manager right away. Didn't have anything specific about him, but just the way he walked, the way he carried himself, he knew that was a GM. And that's the kind of energy that you want to give off. You want to give that positive energy to people's presence,
Yeah.
And it can't be bought. You can't teach someone that. It's just with confidence. Comes with a bit of experience and a bit of, but again, it comes back to your professionalism and the way you carry yourself.
Yeah,
I guess also like valuing every team member, kitchen porters, valuing the housekeeping, valuing the housemen who, obviously Valentine's Day, a couple of days ago, you got balloons, you got, flower petals, you got bottles of liquor, you got God knows what all over those rooms. Okay. The ladies have to clean it, housemen have to take it out, and it's still that bit of a thank you. And, it's so important recognizing. And the thing with me is like, I say this all the time, that I'll be the first to put my hand down a toilet, take something out of a toilet, but I expect every single person behind me to do the exact same thing. And I think that's so, that mentality is so important, versus you think of other general managers that would never do that in a million years.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that. That's not my job to do that. No, It's everyone's job. And if I set that example, then everyone needs to be up to that level. I think emotional intelligence is very important as well. Knowing when to talk and when to listen. Like I always have this mentality of.
I always think when I approach hotels and meet different people, from GM, deputy GM, ops, even duty managers, and I remember, is it George was his name? I met him in Cardiff Lane.
Yes. Yeah.
7 years ago, I'd say. And I always remember him. Why is that?
Yeah.
Because he understood, where I was that day in that particular circumstances. And sometimes some people say people are sensitive, but it's not that they're sensitive. They're open to people's feelings, and they have that instant connection, and they can realize where they're at. And that emotional intelligence that comfort of having somebody to say things are all right, or I'm going to look after you, or it's extremely important.
Yeah, like, you mentioned Cardiff Lane there. Like I worked in Cardiff Lane, and Conor O'Kane, who's the general manager there, he's a brilliant. He's a character. Some people didn't like him, didn't like his style. I loved his style. Because he held you accountable for every little thing you did. If I made a mistake on something, you're sure he'd tell me about it. But if I did something fantastic, great, he's going to bring me in and tell me about it. I remember when I interviewed with him, and he's I guess this links out to kind of standing out again. Like having a background. Person you're meeting, try and find out whatever information you can about them. Look at press releases, look at whatever information is going on about the company, so that if you're trying to get in there, show you're passionate about it, that you want to be there, that you're motivated to be there. He asked me, this is maybe 6-7 years ago, what do you know about Dalata? And I was like, oh, well, I know, listen, you're cash rich, just recently got in the stock market, so you've got a lot of money, you're changing your mentality from managing assets to now owning assets and managing. And he was like, oh, you mentioned the stock price, what's the stock price? And I was like, oh, I checked this morning, it was 344. I'm applying for an assistant manager position. What kind of assistant manager would know the stock price in the lot?
Yeah.
So straight away, then I stood out to him. Like called me, like I left, called me an hour later, said that come back, I want you.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality that want to work for these people that push me to get better all the time. And I want people in have that bit of fire, that bit of motivation. That like if a guest comes down.
Connor has that skill too.
Yeah.
That emotional intelligence to know that you're the one. You ring him and he's do it now. Yeah.
Before someone else gets him.
Yeah, and progress and moving forward.
No hesitation.
Yeah.
And I think he when I was there, again, this is 6-7 years ago, he'd always say that, like, 11 general managers have people who were, I've hired 11 people that have gone on to be general managers. Now, knowing him, I'm sure that number is doubled or tripled at this stage now.
He's results driven.
Yeah.
Process driven.
Like my mentality is always like one of the owners of this hotel said to me that I'm real competitive. And I was like, no, I wouldn't see myself as overly competitive. But he kind of, the way he framed it is that, like, if I told you, this is what he told me. He told me that if I told you the general manager of the other hotel had made a bed in 4 minutes, he's like, I know that you try and make it in 3:59. And he's like, but you wouldn't do it to beat him. You do it because there's the challenge of getting it in the quicker time. And again, I'm not competing with anyone but myself, and that's the mentality I try to have with the hotel, where, I can't control the comp set. I can't control the other hotels' revenue. I can't control their occupancy. I can't control if they get bought out for New York University has an event and they're buying the hotel. I can control what's in my hotel. I can control my rates. I can control my occupancy in okay, if I tweak it by $5-10 here, maybe that might make a difference. And that's a lot of the time, I think all I can do is be held to my own profit and loss account.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again,
it sounds like you bring it right back down to that guest and that individual, giving them that experience, your employees, getting to know them, getting them to be the best that they can be, and all them small things build up to give you the hotel and the organization that you want.
Yeah, like I'll give you an example. Like the first hotel that I was general manager of was the Marion Row, which is on 45th Street in New York. This real small kind of boutique hotel, Irish owned, like really Irish American owners, like real, nice people and family, and I that was my first kind of role to be general manager, right? So, but it was a small hotel. We didn't have a payroll, we didn't have like a payroll person, we didn't have a sales and marketing, we didn't have a revenue person, we didn't have any of these things, So, that was good for me, because then I had to learn how to do everything: accounts payable, accounts receivable, how to get the money out to vendors. If I made, I didn't pay someone in time, hey, I'm gonna get a phone call. Listen, I'm so sorry, I'll get out to you later today. But that was a hotel I took over as 287 on Tripadvisor, and I got it up to number 2 in New York City on Tripadvisor.
287
to number 2. Yeah.
To number 2.
Now, the way I did it was, it was a small team. one person per shift on the desk. Okay. Every guest that comes in the door, I want you to find out about them, why they're here, what they're doing, and I want you to put the note on the profile. Okay. So, hey, we're gonna go see Hamilton to play. Oh, we're visiting our son who lives around the corner. Oh, we're really excited to try this new restaurant. Perfect. Write those notes down. Okay. And I tried to be in the lobby every day at certain times so that I could try and meet and speak to people, whether it was in the breakfast room or whether it was just, standing there just chit-chatting. And people could see me. And the team knew that I'd be there at those certain times every day. That was the routine. So that if a guest had an issue, they could come talk to me. If there was an issue with a guest when I wasn't there, I told them I'd put a note. As soon as I came in the next day, put a note underneath the door. You think of the mentality of like a guest is going to come down and be like, hey, I want to speak to a manager. And
Yes.
then you're right away, you're on the back foot because, you're losing the fight already.
Yeah.
Versus if I put a note underneath the door, I know an issue happened last night. I put a note underneath the door that says, dear Mr. Boylan, very sorry for your issue last night. I'd like to come at your convenience. If you could come and speak to me, I'd really like to speak to you. Thank you. Best wishes, Mark.
Yeah.
Put a note underneath the door. You wake up, you see that note.
Out on front.
You're going to come out, write down and be like, oh, can I speak to Mark, please? Oh, yeah, I'm Mark. How can I help you? Oh, I'm from 307. Oh, Mr. Boylan. Yeah, I'm so sorry what happened last night. I just wanted to talk to you about it. Yeah, okay. Did you have a second to sit down with me? Yeah, of course. So you're going to sit. So right away, this is a friendly conversation. Hey, what happened to you? This happened. Okay, listen, I'm really sorry it happened. Listen, this is what we're going to take care of. Oh, thanks so much. Thank you. Yeah. So right away, it's not an argument. We're having a chat. We're having a conversation. Yeah. Like I've totally disarmed the person because they know exactly who to ask for. They know it says Mark on the bottom. They're going to come down and ask for Mark. It's not a surprise. It's not
very personable. It's
handwritten and it's a handwritten note. It's not something that I printed from a
It's like something they see in the movies.
And it's such an easy thing. And again, disarms people. And again, you think about yourself, like no one enjoys moaning about something or complaining about something, or some people are intimidated. I won't say anything. Who cares? And you lose your money and you're that was crap. I'm not going back.
Yeah.
No.
What about the person that had the son around the corner, or the person was there to see the show? How did you interact with them?
Yeah, sorry. So back to that. Yeah. So I built that profile on people. Okay. So with the idea being that, again, I try to meet them if I could. If I didn't meet everyone during this course of their stay, which is impossible, I obviously can't meet everyone, but there's that profile there. So then when the guests leave, after every guest left, I try and email them, but a personal email saying, dear Mr. Boylan, hope you had a really nice time at, Marion Row. Thank you so much for staying with us. I hope you enjoyed Hamilton. I hope you enjoyed visiting your son. I hope you enjoyed, meeting your new granddaughter. Yeah. With the idea being that, wow, how the hell it's not a generic email that every guest, oh, thanks for staying with us and we'll see you soon. Like it's how the hell does this guy notice? Yeah. So
and
the idea
it's after the sale.
Yeah. So
it's after the sale. So the value is still trickling on. Yeah, very good.
With the idea being like in that hotel, like we had 30% guests booked direct with us, 70% was with the online travel agents, Booking.com, Expedia, right? So I have to pay 15-20% commission to all of those online travel agents, okay? Yes. Which eats a huge portion of the money that I'm making, okay? Yeah. So the idea was threefold that when I'm sending these emails. One is that I can build that relationship with people, okay? Yeah. Hey, listen, next time I'm coming back, let me know, or if any friends or family come to the city, let me know. I'm here to help. I know that they've, first of all, I'm asking, hey, how is everything? Mention about your son. Second thing then is I'm building that relationship with them to try and get them to come back, but also refer guests to me. Yes. In that, hey, listen, I'm going to New York. Do you know anywhere? Oh yeah, this great place, Marion Row. Go stay there. I think I have Mark's email here somewhere. Let me try and see if I can find it. They'll say, hey, listen, I have this guest come back. Oh, no problem. I'll take care of them. Yeah. The next thing then is I'm not having to pay the commissions, okay, because it's a direct booking now, as opposed to I pay nothing for it, as opposed to before paying 15-20%. And the third thing then is that I can get a gauge for their stay. So they're going to write back, oh, it's such a fantastic time. Thank you so much. Hey, listen, if you don't mind going to Tripadvisor, really, really help us a lot. We're a small hotel. We're trying to compete with the bigger hotels, if you wouldn't mind. Now, listen, if 1 out of 5 people do it, that's still one more review than I had before. Yeah. And
it paid off privately within the organization, but outside, dang, from 287 to number 2.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So publicly, I can, and that's a number that I can stand to, and again, like there's also
results.
But also the other thing is that it also protects the TripAdvisor, because for example, let's say you write back to me and say, oh, listen, it wasn't great, it was only okay. Listen, I'm really sorry that wasn't great, and I address whatever their issue was. I don't even mention TripAdvisor. So
Yeah.
it's not in my benefit to just send a generic email being like after check-in, be like, oh, thanks, please rank us
Yeah.
on Tripadvisor, because 3s and 4s do nothing for me. I need 5s all the way
Yeah.
along.
Yeah.
I need a
Very good.
minimum of 1 a day, and I need names mentioned.
Quantity
So I want
and quality.
quality. And I need Joseph's name. I need Frank's name. I need Denny's name, because what I need is that when the guests read those reviews, oh, you're Joseph, I read about you. Like in the Sofitel, when I was in there, someone had put Mark, and then the Irish guy, and then someone had come up to me, oh yeah, I read about you, and that's so my reputation straight away precedes me. Oh, you're the guy that I read about,
Yes.
Yeah, geez, he's exactly like the people said.
Yeah.
Excellent. So
It's
that's again, and it worked, and I remember then also sticking to your convictions and knowing, having the data to prove things. Like in that case, I was emailing every single guest. No one told me to do it, but I did it. Senior vice president of the management company kind of, on a call with the owners was like, why are you doing that? And I was like, I'm doing it to try and build the reputation and the reasons like I gave you.
Yeah.
And he's like, stop doing that. You're bothering people. Don't email. And I was like, okay, fine. And he was like, keep it the way it is. Let the desk ask for reviews and do it that way. Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So we totally stagnated. We didn't move at all. We stopped getting direct bookings. We did it for 2 weeks. Stopped getting all these, no movements, no bookings from direct. Everything was back to OTAs, and then 2 weeks later a month later at the next owners meeting, he told me he was wrong. He put his hands up and he said, you know what, I was wrong. Do it. Get it back. Started flying back up. Tripadvisor got to number 2.
Yeah.
Now they actually got to number 1 after I had left, but still that foundation was there. That was really, really important,
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. Yeah. So that's really,
Right,
really
Mark.
important. Yeah.
We're clocking over an hour there, so
Yes.
I just can't tell you how informative, and you made the hair stand on my arm there a few times when you told me the stories. So I'd like to thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll hopefully someday I'll come on and see your picture.
Yeah, I hope so. Like again, on the main thing is I think to protect, say your reputation is the most important thing you have,
Yeah.
And I think you got to always make sure that you build, credibility with colleagues. You build credibility with vendors. You build credibility with your guests, and you build credibility with your owners. And I think once you cover those few bases, I think, no matter where you are, and I feel like a lot of the times the big jobs, you don't get them by putting yourself forward. You get them by your reputation.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important kind of thing for people to remember out there.
Brilliant. Mark, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kevin.
Fantastic talking to you. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.